Welcome everyone. Happy Wine Wednesday. Amy and I are so happy to be back to join you.
So happy to be together.
I know. Last month was when we were at Dry Bar, so
Yes.
This is kind of nice. We are back to our Chit-Chat. That was just something special.
It was very special.
No big deal.
It was very special.
It was a lot
so
of fun. And we will do that once in a while. We certainly will do that. Well, anyways, you know the routine. Stop the video, get whatever it is that you enjoy to drink, and come back and join us. Amy and I will be enjoying a little Bordeaux. I love this bottle. I think
do
it's
too. I like the font. I like the labeling.
Yes, it's very spring, Easter, I don't know. So we'll let you know what we think, but some red sounds good tonight.
Always.
Yeah.
Always a good day for red.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
To Wine Wednesday. Did we look each other in the eye?
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That didn't count. Do over.
We have to do it over. I don't know if we've ever shared about that. Have we?
I don't know if we did.
Why don't, Amy, go ahead and share real quick.
You know, we perhaps spoke about it when we were filming last month, but I don't think
it made it in there. So you explain
we
to everybody.
Told, was it at one of our get-togethers in August?
It could have been.
The Fed, that if you're giving a toast or you're toasting one another, you have to look into each other's eyes, and if there are multiple people, into each person's eyes, because if you fail to do so, it's 7 years of bad sex.
7 years of bad sex. So when you toast,
here's to good wine, good
wine.
friends, and good sex.
And good sex. There you go. Well, welcome everyone. Our topic for tonight's Wine Wednesday is one that has been requested probably the whole duration I have been doing YouTube, but I've had a lot of people recently bring it to my attention, and I thought this could be a really great topic for Wine Wednesday. Amy and I talk a lot about relationships and a little bit about parenting, but I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me, how do you deal with mom guilt? So,
and I have clients, they may not phrase it that way, but I have clients, many of my clients who are mothers experience the mom guilt. So we address that quite regularly as well.
Yeah, so I feel like it's a great topic. I'm sure that every one of you moms out there can relate to having to struggle with mom guilt at some point in your motherhood journey, some more than others, but that's what we are going to talk about today. But first, we are just going to have a sip of our wine. So good. Yeah,
I like it.
that's very good. Well, Amy, do you want to take the stage? What do you have to say about mom guilt?
First and foremost, I address a lot of the negative cognition of not being good enough in a lot of areas, and it inevitably comes up in the area of parenting. And I think it's very important that we all recognize how crucial it is that we extend ourselves grace. We are humans. We are not perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect mother, a perfect father, a perfect parent. And we have to give ourselves grace to be imperfect.
I agree.
First and foremost.
Yeah.
I mean, believe me, we can go on and on about that, but that is
Right.
number one in my mind, is that in all areas of our lives, we have to be able to forgive ourselves our humanity.
Right. I think the biggest thing that I really think about with mom guilt is what is triggering this. So to me, if you are someone that does struggle with this, I think the most important thing that you can do is sit back and say, why do I feel this way? What is triggering this? Do you really feel as if you are not doing your motherly duty? Or do you feel it's more out of competition? And one of the areas that I want to preface the most is social media. I don't know that social media really is good for humanity unless you can have a healthy relationship with it. Always remember that what you are seeing posted on social media, the family dinners, the great lunches that are being packed for children, parents hustling and bustling, we are only going to post the pretty stuff. We are only going to post the happy moments, the positive moments. And I'm not saying that's going to be everybody's struggle, but if social media and the competition that you may fall prey to is what triggers you in any area of your life where you feel that you are inadequate in any way, whether it's inadequate as a wife, a mother, a friend, whatever it is, be very cautious and careful. But I think it really boils down to first figuring out the trigger and then what you can do after you figure out what is promoting this or what is causing this.
They say comparison is the thief of joy. Mm-hmm. And again, you're comparing yourself to what other people are letting you see. Because guess what? I think pretty much every parent loses their cool every once in a while. Every parent says things that they regret. That's not, that is not the point, is to never do anything that you're not going to regret. You're going to probably make mistakes. And the key thing is really to just remember that your children need to see you make mistakes. Right. They need to know that they don't have to be perfect. And that what happens when someone makes a mistake, they right the wrong, or they express their remorse, they apologize, you're teaching them by your example. Right. Even if you're apologizing to them, that, you know what, we're going to say things that we regret sometimes, and this is how we mend those issues. Right?
And it's also recognizing what areas do you need to improve on. I mean, if you are feeling guilty because, let's say, you overslept 2 days and you had to rush out the door and you didn't give your child this perfect breakfast, don't worry about it. It's like Amy said, give yourself that grace, cut yourself slack. We are burning the candles at both ends, moms. We really are managing and doing it all. And some of us, many of us, do get help from our spouse, some don't. The most important thing is that you are doing the best that you can. You allow yourself to trip up, to make mistakes. Don't fall prey to the competition. If somebody asks you what you do for this, what you do for that, be careful. Be careful that you don't feel that you need to put out this facade like you have it all together. Nobody has it all together all the time. Believe me, nobody is always organized. Nobody is always structured. Nobody is always on their A game. And it's okay. I think it's important to know that it's okay. Do you feel, Amy, that you struggled with mom guilt a lot? I mean, where do you feel like, because I do feel some struggle more than others. And how would you describe how you were when your kids were younger?
It's probably been more since they were older that I experienced some. And it was difficult for me because for so long, and this is a big one that I think a lot of people struggle with. So for so long, my world was their world. And my identity was wrapped up in being their mother and being, involved in the PTA and being a wife and all those roles. And I unfortunately let something happen that I believe a lot of parents, not just women, have happened to them as well. And that is, I lost my own identity. I lost who I was as a woman, and we can't do that, because if your whole world is your children and they leave the home, then who are you? So I think it's very important to continue to stay tapped into who you are as an individual. Right. And so for a short time while I struggled with that, I was figuring it all out along with them. And so there were times when I thought, oh, but I'm not tending I'm not making them the center of my universe. Mm-hmm. But that's not healthy anyway. They need to know, because they, again, need to see your example of maintaining your own individuality, maintaining your own identity. And do you want them to to lose themselves in a relationship or in any kind of relationship. You want to set that example that we are each individuals, and you're a woman in addition to a mother and a wife, and your role, in your employment or your career or your business, whatever. And so we lose sight of that. And I got a little guilt-ridden for a little while, but I think coming out of it now, I'm very happy that I went through that process. I wish I hadn't lost myself along the way, but I found myself. So.
Right. I had a little bit different experience. I don't feel like I ever really lost myself, and I never compromised my marriage for my kids. In our home, our marriage comes first. The kids come second, which I think is a whole different issue, because I think for many, I guess my question to you moms would be, how many of you suffer from wife guilt? And I would say probably nobody thinks of wife guilt or spouse guilt, but they think of mom guilt. And I think it's very important, again, to not lose your identity, but also to not lose that relationship with your spouse. It's very important. And the kids need to see that dad comes before you. I know that seems strange, and when they're little, there's some differences with that, but it's setting up those boundaries. I also feel that mom guilt can often be more prominent with mothers that work outside the home. But I believe it falls back into the comparison. It's so easy to look at that mom that is the PTO. She's the mom classroom party. She organizes this. She is on every field trip. And I have to work, so I can't be at all of that. I've been on both ends. I've been the stay-at-home mom, and I've also been the working mom. And yes, there are some differences, but regardless, you are contributing. There is not one better fit over the other. It is what works for your family, and you are contributing regardless.
And so much of that busy work is not serving your child anyway.
Right.
It's whether you're feeling that sense of obligation, which I remember that feeling so well. But I think that spending that quality time with my children once I did get back into the workforce was much more conducive to their upbringing than the fact that I ran the carnival, which was not always all that rewarding.
Yeah. So really, I think it just goes back to don't be looking at what other people do. Pay attention. Stay in your own lane is often what I will tell people. Don't be looking at what the neighbor's doing. Don't fall prey to the mom that brags. You have to be able to see right through all of that. None of us have perfect children. None of us have perfect marriages. Nobody is the perfect parent. We have to be willing to cut ourselves slack. Life is busy. We are running the roads, taxing 24/7. It's from sun up to sundown. You are doing the best you can, and just let go of the competition, let go of the mom guilt, and just come to peace and come to terms with your role and where you're currently at.
Another thing I think is important to recognize is when our children, one in particular I'm thinking of, struggled. As somebody who, grew up in the world of psychology, and of course my first reference was Sigmund Freud, everything's the mother's fault, right? And I remember hearing, 50%, this was the head of the practice speaking, he said 50% of our clients' pathology comes from their family of origin, but 50% comes from their social network. And so remember that yes, you have a key role in your children's upbringing, but there are so many other influences. You cannot take full responsibility for the choices that your children make. They're going to get to a particular age. I had to recognize I can't want good grades for my child more than he does.
Right.
And so I had to let him make those choices, reap the consequences. And I think it's incredibly important for us to recognize we've said this before, we're raising adults. We are not raising children. We are raising them to be capable adults. And part of that is letting them fail. Mm-hmm. Part Part of that is letting them learn how to make their own lunches.
Part of them is letting them fall on their face.
Yes,
You're phasing yourself out of a
They
job.
have to learn to function as adults,
Yeah.
and whether it's making their own food, whether it's determining whether or not they're going to study for that test or not, they have to make those choices. You can't determine that. And so I think part of our responsibility is really to step back more,
Yeah.
not to do more.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's exactly how we've raised our girls. And honestly, I actually believe that's probably why I don't recall really suffering from mom guilt. Number one, I'm just not into comparing. I never have been. It's a waste of energy. It's counterproductive. I look at what I need to do. I can't tell anybody else what to do. You do in your home what works for you. Can we get inspiration from other people? Absolutely. But I don't fall prey to the competition on social media. I don't feel inadequate just because I may see something. Again, I think when you recognize you're just giving what you can, and giving your kids the responsibility is going to free up some of that time, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. Give them a chance. Again, you want them to be very capable when they're out of the home. But if you're doing everything for them, what happens is people wonder why their kids can't do anything when they're 18, 20, 21. Well, you were doing everything for them. It's okay. It's okay. And let them fall. Let them fall.
Actually, it's a disservice, in my opinion.
Oh, it is.
Because I see some of these kids in their 20s that have not been allowed to learn how to adult. And so the real world causes them so much anxiety because
sure.
they've never,
It's
not
a
only
shame.
they have not been given responsibility for tasks, but so often I think as parents, it's almost like we take ownership for their feelings as well. And it's, we can show compassion, we can show empathy for our children, but they have to learn that this is how life works. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you kind of have to navigate, and it's not easy, but if you hold their hand, and you know what I mean, or if you carry them through it all, you are not giving them the skills necessary, the emotional intelligence to handle real life. I think it's very important to not ever insinuate to anyone else that they should feel guilty. Let's not guilt others. Let's not say, oh, you do that? Or even question, why do you do that? Because the word why insinuates judgment. Let's not judge other people.
Right.
Everything works differently for different families.
And we have different choices. It'd be kind of like the flu shot. Did you get your kid the flu shot? Sometimes it's better just to say, I don't really even feel like speaking on that. I mean, that would be me. If it's anything that's controversial that somebody could try to criticize me, well, number one, you can't criticize me. I mean, we have to build up that turtle shell often, but what you choose to do. Again, it goes back to competition. It goes back to control. It goes back to the comparison. When do we get to just take responsibility for what our choices are and not have anybody tell us that we're wrong or try to prove us wrong? What people believe, they generally are going to stick with. They aren't going to sway. And if they do, it's not going to be from somebody on social media. It's going to be from a person that is a professional and they're educated in that field.
I agree. And yes, you're but yeah, it's so funny. You get this probably on YouTube and just, well, why do you do that? Why do you do that? It works for us. It works for my family. And it's not to say that it's not to say that, for example, I don't know everything about everything, but I have 3 kids. You have 5. They're adults. Maybe I should have done that, but what's done is done, and I'm just going to make sure that I cultivate those relationships. I'm there, but I letting them make their own way at this point.
Also understand that there are going to be decisions as a parent that you and your spouse are going to make that you may say, that really didn't work. That is okay. That is okay. And you may make a different decision for the next child. It's all okay because we're learning as well. Again, we are not perfect. And when you have a child, let's say, that starts to drive and it's your oldest one, well, that's new to you. So you may find out that, I really didn't like how we did this or how we did that. The next child, you may do things differently. And again, there is nothing wrong with asking another mom or another set of parents that you feel are doing a good job how they did things, but take the nuggets that you can apply that work for you and work for your family and try them. And they may work and they may not. It's not a perfect science, so be open to that.
It's not a, one-time shot either,
It's not a do or die.
Exactly,
No.
exactly. Let's recognize that. I remember putting so much thought into what preschool my oldest would go to. I mean, now in retrospect, are you kidding me?
It's preschool. It's not college.
And so I try to remember that even now. My son told me the other day, my senior in high school, finals were in January. He said, well, that was the first test I ever studied for.
Yeah.
He has to decide, he's going to his school, he's going to college, but by the time that last one comes around, you do start to recognize, I can preach till I'm blue in the face, but to a certain degree, they are their own people, they're their own individuals, and they get to decide.
Yeah, and our kids really aren't a reflection of us. So many people, whatever their kids do, they feel it's a reflection of them, good or bad. But again, if you're parenting well, you're allowing them to fall on their face. But often what happens is we want to protect that because we're protecting ourselves in the process. It's okay to say, my kid screwed up. My kid had to stay after school today because they've been tardy way too many times this year. I have a few of those that has happened to, because when they can drive to school, they have that freedom. It's okay. It's really not a reflection of me. At some point, my 18-year-old, if she's tardy, it is not my problem. It is her. She's 18. So watch that as well.
So many areas that I think, people have a tendency to look at children and I can't believe their parents would let her dress that way, or
often we don't even know what they're dressed
like
because we're getting ready for work or.
There were times when I left in one outfit, but that doesn't mean I stayed in that outfit.
Right,
so give other parents a break, like we said.
Yes, exactly.
We're all just doing the best we can.
Yeah, and I think if you have that mindset, just cut yourself slack, cut other people slack. I mean, really.
And cut your kids slack sometimes.
Yes.
Every once in a while, cut them some slack.
And then when you do, remind them that you want them to cut you slack too. I mean, here's a great story, just a short one. I had kids in all different schools because, we have the elementary school, we have a preschool, we have middle school, we have high school. Well, I went to the middle school because I had to pick my daughter up from practice. And she wasn't coming out. And I'm texting her and I'm like, I'm here, come on out. And she's like, Mom, I don't see you. Where are you? And I said, I'm kind of getting annoyed, I'm irritated. When you walk out the door, look left, you will see my minivan. That's what I had at the time, where you push the button and the door slides. She said, Mom, I am standing outside the door and I am looking to the left and you are not here. And all of a sudden it dawned on me. I was at the middle school. She was in high school.
Have 3 boys. I knew this was going to happen. I dropped the wrong kid off at the wrong baseball field. It's going to happen.
You have to laugh about it. Just laugh about it. These are great memories.
Our kids are not going to remember how perfectly clean the home is. They really don't care. They're not going to remember. To be honest, most gifts you purchase, they're not going to remember. They're going to remember those silly moments. Mm-hmm. They're going to remember the tender moments. As long as you've got that happening, you're doing well.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Have fun. Enjoy these times. Yes. Really, enjoy these times.
Amen.
Wouldn't you say that?
Amen.
Now that our kids are pretty much, just enjoy. Laugh at the mistakes you make. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. You have to learn to laugh at them.
Absolutely.
So, all right, my mommy with no guilt and this mommy with no guilt. We are going to wrap things up. We're going to go to dinner like we always do. Yes. And stay tuned because in a couple weeks, Amy and I will have a short, small, little video coming out, kind of a prerequisite for the next Wine Wednesday. We are going to want to know what you want to see next. You don't need to leave that in this, well, yeah, no. Yeah, in a couple weeks.
They will.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Always know that the commenting section is open. We love to hear what your thoughts are. But in a couple weeks, we have a video coming out where we are going to be pushing you a little bit, encouraging you to leave questions for us so that we can do a Q&A in the next Wine Wednesday. So
It'll be fun.
it's going to be fun. All right. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget anything beauty, outfit, if it's linkable, it will be down below. And make sure that you check out our library. I will have the whole Tracy and Amy Wine Wednesday library linked as well. We talk about marriage, relationships, getting along with others. We've had so many videos, I can't think of everything we've talked about.
Fashion, a little bit of makeup, a lot of
Let's talk about sex, babe, yeah, all of that stuff. So just check out the library and we will see you soon in the next Wine Wednesday. Take care.